Kind of speaking along the lines of what Brenda did. What do you try to do? And obviously from top down, but what do you try to do to help build trust between the community and DPS?
I think it was 2020. We were you'd have these shootings and murders, and there may be
2020 was just wild.
But you'd have a shooting or something. You'd see 30 or 40 people that was out there, and no one is coming up to be a witness at all. And that's a scary scenario, So I knew we had a problem, and of course, there were some incidents that we had, some officers that, not getting into all that. Some of it was just criminal behavior, and they've charged and everything like that, which really got into the trust issue.
Sure.
And so we jumped into this Department of Justice. You may remember this, but it was Community Relations Specialist, strengthening police and community partnerships. And we had one that year, but I'd actually started talking to her before we had one, and because I was like, we're having so much conflict here, I'd really like to try to, before this thing just really gets out of hand, and try to bring people together. And so, talking about internal cultures, there were some people then that were thinking, well, Chief, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, listen, we have a serious problem. I mean, the lack of trust, and we've got to try to build that trust back.
Yeah.
And so, but to do that, you've got to really open yourself up for that meeting and that criticism, and that's not comfortable. But I also felt
the things that you were doing weren't working, right?
Right, that's right.
And just because we've done it that way for 40 years.
Sure. But I also felt like, and I was telling some of the guys, I said, listen, we don't do anything improper, because I think a lot of it is just that people don't understand how processes work, how criminal law works, how use of force works, all these questions, as my dad would say, relationships are two-way street. So we had a lot to do with that, and we had to acknowledge that. We jumped into it, worked on that, and
I feel like
it really helped. And that's what we had, was an us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
And it was pretty obvious to me, and we were trying to change that, But
right.
We can't do it very well without the community support. And even when you make the arrest, how are you going to prosecute if you can't get witnesses to participate?